Here's some of them here. And they believe that those affected by FASD should be included in any dialogue around the disorder. The motto is nothing about us without us. These individuals with FASD have redefined what success means for those with neurodiversity, and they've used their living experience to work as consultants, advisors, trainers, research team, project members, presenters and mentors. And their own research program or project, the groundbreaking Lay of the Land survey, was published in 2020 and focused on the health and the physical issues of those with FASD. They researched over 500 adults, and they reported that those alcohol exposed in utero have higher frequencies of a wide range of health problems, especially later in life. We now have our first member of the FASD Changemakers from Aotearoa, Byron Jones, captured here, presenting virtually at this year's FASD conference in Seattle in April. So we're very proud of Byron, who's worked as a chef and as a father of 3. So, back to our pizza club. The first one here in Aotearoa in 2022 was a wonderful success, with many of our whānau and parents saying initially how difficult it was to convince their rangatahi to come along in the first place, and yet afterwards relayed tales of how good they felt connecting with others who got them. They said they'd found their tribe, and now they ask their nans and their parents and their caregivers, when's the next pizza club? So the organising committee for FASD-CAN's National Hui back in 2022 after that first pizza club, and then following in 2023, rode on the momentum that they'd created. And we decided that we'd do a separate stream with the individuals with FASD running concurrent with the main Hui program. They were a hit, and they were well attended and successful. And the focus of these events were really around social interaction and fun. Funding was then found for a standalone event, thanks to Tapo, for the individuals, and we held the first IDP event in November 2023, a one-day program. So the focus and the purpose of the event remained on social connections, as we could see the benefit of them bringing our individuals out of isolation, which is many of their experiences. And we wanted to allow the opportunity for them to share their stories and hear others' stories and feel validated and experience acceptance. So we know that this is the kernel, the seed that allows self-confidence and self-esteem to grow, and that in turn that's building their self-belief and their belief in themselves, and then their ability to self-advocate. And that natural tuakana taina relationships evolve within the rōpū, and that's really wonderful to witness. For our first IDP event we chose PATH, planning alternative tomorrows with hope. I'll just change the image because these guys are cool. So PATH is a creative planning tool that uses graphic imagery to collect information and stories to develop positive future plans. So that was facilitated by Tani Henderson, our FASD colleague in Utatahi. And the individuals and the caregivers attended, and they found it really beneficial. The feedback came back that they wanted to do it again, but they wanted to do it over 2 days. So IDP2 planning began, and that was held in March of this year. So the first day again was PATH, facilitated by Mariah and Ngātoia this time, and followed by a day of creativity, screen printing, t-shirts and tote bags. We see some of them here today. On people. I was meant to wear my FASD-CAN shirt, I forgot. The feedback was again positive, and then it came back and they wanted a 3-day event next time. So they wanted more time for whanaungatanga. They wanted to have more chill out time, and they wanted to do some physical activities. So we began planning IDP3, and we just completed that 3 days ago. I just wanted to mention that for the lucky Aucklanders, there's still pizza clubs running about 3 times a year. So before I show you evidence of how important the inclusion of our individuals' voices, I want to illustrate and remind those present of how differently our brains can be. Here in this aspect perception illustration, there are 2 images. What do you see? Some people can see only one image. Some peeps can flip back and forth quickly, but others can't. But no one can see both things at once. It's not you, it's your brain. So when one person is talking duck, 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 and the other person is talking rabbit, 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 they're going to be issues. I see these playing out daily as a parent of our now 16-year-old Kōtiro, who was diagnosed with FASD when she was 9. So what can we do differently when we know that others' brains work differently? We can grow our knowledge and our understanding, and we can learn about FASD. And who best to learn off than those with the living experience of their own brain differences as a result of prenatal alcohol exposure. At one of our recent events, we filmed the rangatahi and we asked them a series of questions. They loved being involved in this way and they pushed through their own nervousness. Clips like this one are invaluable to use in the trainings that I and others in the FASD-CAN whānau deliver to not only whānau and caregivers but also to professionals. And it's wonderful to now have some of our recent New Zealand content rather than having to draw on the footage from our Australian cousins and from our global community. So here's a 3-minute clip of our rangatahi from our One Thing series, and there's a couple of others too. You can be found on the website under the Individuals tab.
We asked some of our rangatahi, young people with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, a question. What's one thing you wish people knew about FASD?
One thing that I wish that people knew about FASD is that we do have a disability. We're not normal like everyone else. Even though we might look normal on the outside, that doesn't mean that, we've got problems on the inside.
The learning difficulties that you can have during school. Yeah, I had trouble with catching up with other people during college, but with the teacher that I had, I managed to pass level 1 and 2 in 1 year, which was amazing.
It's an embarrassing subject to talk about, and I wish a lot of people, like teachers, when you're in primary and college, learn a lot more about it, to be honest, because when I was in college and primary, they had no idea about it, and my mum had to educate them really hard, and it was up to them to take it or leave it.
Sometimes even when I've told people my condition, because I usually say that I've got a condition, and they tell them, but most people just usually ignore it, just because people don't see it as an invisible condition. They just think it's someone, trying to get, benefits, but it's like, no, it's just because it's hidden.
Sometimes it's hard to have friendships and relationships because it's hard to communicate and actually tell people what you're wanting and stuff. For some people it's hard to ask for help because they just think no one will understand. Sometimes most people don't actually know that FASD is a thing that people struggle with, and most people will think you're lying about it if you tell them straight up.
I also knew just how hard it was to live with it, with the aspects of having to struggle through suicide, having to struggle through depression, difference, struggling through school, and things like that.
Well, in an ideal world, I would like it that alcohol companies were more open and honest about how many people their products have affected, especially prenatally.
Well, I live with it, and I know people that don't have it, and I can see the difference that it has on me then it compares to someone who's living a normal life, fetal alcohol free.
So as the project lead for the IDP kaupapa, I sought the experience or expertise of those with the living experience who had shown leadership qualities at the first Pizza Club and those first events we ran at the Hui's. And that's namely Byron, Tiawai and latterly Noah. So in the early stages, both Byron and Tiawai felt really strongly. Felt really strongly in the value of setting a tikanga for the events, and they wanted whakawhanaungatanga to be at the core, and it's through these connections, of course, that the individuals are gaining mutual support, encouragement and increased sense of self-worth and belonging. Other priorities included opportunities to build self-confidence and develop self-expression and leadership skills, and they also wanted an emphasis on fun. They wrote their tikanga outlining 6 points they wanted attendees to abide by, and at each event they read through the tikanga with the others, and to get consensus, everyone nods and agrees, and breaks the rules, and they get the attendees to sign the tikanga. But before I go on, I do want to acknowledge a mātua instrumental to this kaupapa, namely Lindsay, who's not here today. I first met Lindsay at the first Hautatu Wānanga in Whakatane a year ago, and we were just having a kōrero as you do over those 2 or 3 days. And he totally supported the idea of this IDP, and in fact had said, I wished I'd had something like that when I was younger. So he brings his lived experience, his mātauranga Māori, his peer-to-peer support expertise, and his wise counsel to me and to our emerging leaders, and to the whole Rōpū actually. And he's incredibly supportive of this kaupapa, and we cherish him as a sort of a humble kaitiaki. And he meets regularly with the kairahi and offers peer support and mentoring, so we're very thankful to Lindsay. After the first IDP, the kairahi decided that they needed a mission statement, and they wrote this outlined here. And you'll notice the last one there, we want our voices heard to bring about change. So I don't put anything onto them, like it's all sort of generated from what they want. I'm trying to kind of guide and steer their waka, which is sometimes in very bumpy waters, and either lots of wind or no wind. So it's, we thought herding cats was difficult. It's nothing. So we've taken this whirl, and we're involving the living experience voice, be it in video recordings, audio recordings, quotations, etc. And we're using as much content as we can gather to inform all of our trainings now. And where possible, we're taking our individuals along to meetings, to Parliament, to hui, to on the media, so that they can speak their truth and they can bring about this transformational change that we've heard is so necessary in this hui. So it's a bit of a movie afternoon or morning, I haven't got popcorn, but I'm just going to show you a few excerpts from the various things and various recordings that we've made over the last year. This clip of Tiawai and Noah, two of our young group leaders, our kairahi, talk about the value of the pizza clubs and the IDP gatherings. And what's cool about this clip, because I filmed them a few times before then, is that I talked to them about having a kōrero and not make me interviewing them, and them practicing being an interviewer, and they really loved it. So I hope you enjoy this. It's about 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tiawai, and I'm 22 years old, and I'm from Christchurch.
Hi, my name is Nora. I'm 19, and I'm from Auckland.
How was it meeting others with FASD?
It's just nice knowing that there's other people like me out there who are going through the same stuff I have to go through, because I remember particularly before we had pizza clubs in New Zealand, like the feeling I was going through of just like self-isolation and thinking, God, there's not a single person on the planet who is going through what I'm going through. And like thinking, I must be like the most quote-unquote mentally ill person in the world. I must be like absolutely crazy. Why is no one wanting to be my friend? Why is no one talking to me? And then when we had the first pizza club, I met like all the people who have like FASD as well. And I'm like, it's like, that scene from Ice Age where like Sid the Sloth meets all the other sloths.
Oh yeah. That's a really good analogy to describe. I personally myself meeting others with FASD has been really positive and life changing. Because I felt the exact same. I honestly felt like I was alone. I didn't have anybody to reconcile with or really connect with. And meeting everyone, I just really came out of my shell, I think, a lot more. And being someone who, is antisocial at points and introverted, I came out a lot more when I finally met everyone on that first pizza night as well. And I think I was just over the moon, I'd say. Just glad to know that there's other people like me out there and that, I'm not alone. That social connection really bonded real quick for me. And and I've gained a lot more friends over that than in the years of my life that I've tried to have friends, So and it also took me away from being antisocial to feeling part of the whānau, really, I guess, the FASD whānau, so yeah.
And also, I feel like also breaking that cycle of self-pity and depression as well, just being it's like that whole feeling of I know I can't help this, but goddammit, I don't want to put up with it. And that feeling of I'm the only person who's putting up with this shit. I think breaking that stigma of thinking you're the only person that's going on with this stuff and knowing that there's other people who are also going through it is just great. Knowing the other people who are going through it and helping each other out as well. I think only positive things about the pizza club.
Yeah, I don't have any negatives at all because I think it's almost like we share the load together, all of us as a group.
Yeah.
And that really does show the connection between all of us. Whether we all have different, it doesn't matter if we all have different types of FASD on the spectrum, we all just really get along together, which makes a really big, it's really surreal to me because it was the first thing I noticed when I came to the pizza night. I just kind of thought, oh my God, everyone here's got FASD. And that, instantly made me feel oh great, I feel like I belong here,
That's nice being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, definitely. A bigger plan for the world, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we're leaving our footprint and hopefully something better will come of it.
And this last little clip is from the Neuroability Symposium that was done in Gundesen in 2023. This is Europe talking positively about what works with him in a tertiary course that he was enrolled in.
I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really awesome. There's heaps of support for everyone there. We can get reader writers if we need it. Okay. And they're always asking us if we need help with it at home or in course. They're always there to help you. And it's just a really neat environment.
Nice to hear some positive things. So the feedback we receive is that these voices are a highlight of the trainings as professionals and frontline staff get the message much more powerfully by listening and watching the stories and the tips and the expertise, not just with us as whānau and caregivers, but actually the living experience of those with FASD. It's just a snapshot of a few there. Bit of the feedback. A common complaint we hear from our individuals is that they try so hard, yet they get told they're lazy and unmotivated and they're just not putting the effort in. Motivation, the majority of us think that this is a choice to be motivated or not. But actually, it is a set of cognitive skills. Motivation requires initiative, organisation, time management, focus, memory, and self-belief. Sadly, many, if not all, of these cognitive skills are lacking in our individuals with FASD. And is it lazy, lack of effort, or is it lack of cognitive fuel? Now imagine that your brain doesn't work or doesn't run as efficiently as you'd like because it's been impacted in some way. This means that the seemingly small and trivial brain tasks that require the cognitive fuel throughout the day empties your brain tanks faster, much faster than your co-worker, your neighbour, your sibling, your partner, or your friend. In addition to this, because your brain works differently, you aren't always able to fall asleep or even stay asleep. This means that when your brain should be refueling and topping up its cognitive fuel for the next day's demands, it's still running on fumes. I see this motivation and lazy issue played out at home. Recently, my 16-year-old smashed her phone in a rage and slammed it down with huge force on the corner of the bench. She was horrified and devastated. She shouted, "But Mum, I didn't know that was going to happen." Once I'd co-regulated her back into sort of a state of equilibrium, we made a plan. She says, "I'll do some extra things to get money to fix my phone." So we settled on 10 small house jobs. Now remember, she's 16, yet developmentally more like 8 or 12 on a good day. So small jobs were set out in order for her to achieve her goal. Unpacking both layers of the dishwasher, tick. Getting a load of firewood, tick. Putting out the recycling, tick. As you can see, very basic tasks that were achievable for any 8-year-old. But she couldn't manage doing the jobs. Not because she was unmotivated. No, any 16-year-old wants their phone. Not because she was lazy. Because she physically did not have the cognitive fuel at the end of the day to do anything more. She was on empty. All her brain skills, her communication and social skills had been exhausted, navigating her way through her school day. She didn't need to be punished for not doing the tasks quickly enough. The smashed phone was punishment enough for that. She needed kindness and empathy and accommodations to get the tasks done. Most of us, those whom society would consider neurotypical, don't have to struggle with low or empty cognitive fuel tanks. We can make it through the day without running on empty. And we're able to refuel efficiently enough to get a good night's sleep and to meet the next day's demands all over again. Our individuals are not so lucky, and our individuals are not making excuses. They are not unmotivated or lazy. It's a lack of skill, not a lack of will. Here's a quick audio grab from one of our participants, Caleb. Caleb has grown in such confidence after attending every pizza club and every IDP. We didn't hear from him for quite a few months. Oh gosh, that was the wrong thing to do. I think you're going to have to play this one, thank you.
Well, I feel like it's a very connecting experience. It feels like we're with whānau. We're all getting to know each other, to see people with the same background as me or anyone else. It's a very, I feel very loved here. I love it.
That was him talking about the latest IDP that we just did, as I said, 10 days ago. So the feedback from the IDP events and the pizza clubs have been incredibly positive, from the individuals and also from the whānau, the grandparents, the parents and the caregivers. They say it's uplifted them and it has given them opportunities to be accepted, to relax, to make friends and to build their self-esteem. This is the first opportunity for many of them to be with others in a safe environment and engaging in some pro-social activities. The motivation for advocacy is growing and many of them want to tell their stories and make a difference in the lives of others. And you can see this in the videos I've played today. Now whilst so we're a long way away from some of the work that the international FASD changemakers are involved in, but we are making a beginning with small steps, mana-enhancing steps. And I firmly believe it is this journey that is so powerful here. It's not the destination. So in closing, we see the problem being society's narrow view of what it means to live a worthwhile and successful life. Our FASLings live with a severe neurodisability. and they navigate the world very differently than what society expects. Because society's assumptions are based on those neurotypical constructs. That means that society by and large expects that every person's brain works typically, and that every person can meet the age-based expectations that require consistent cognitive skills. There is little or no recognition of brain-based differences or what this means for the individuals living with this condition. There are few, if any, accommodations offered. This creates a poor fit for our rangatahi. It increases their anxiety, their distress and their overwhelm, and this shows us challenging behaviours. If New Zealand society recognised FASD and our mokuina as justifiable rights to accommodations, they would experience less distress. If society could recognise neurodiversity in a more affirming and accurate light, they'd see behaviours as communication, a reflection of a brain that works differently. If that was the case, those who hold the power in a given environment might offer empathy and support instead of the typical power, control and punishment that get most frequently deployed. You've heard repeated in these videos that individuals with brain differences want kindness and understanding. It doesn't seem too much to expect. Huri no e te whānau, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.